Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Dr. Catherine O'Leary. I'm a clinical psychologist and I've got psoriasis.
Does psoriasis affect sleep?
So the short answer to that is yes, psoriasis affects sleep, and that's because some of the symptoms of psoriasis like pain and itch disturb your sleep. So when you look at studies of people with psoriasis and you ask them about sleep, around 60% of people say they have sleep problems because of their psoriasis. And a really big number get less than the recommended 7 hours of sleep, so it's around about 40% of people. So in short, yeah, psoriasis definitely affects sleep. And for me, there have been periods in my life where my skin's just been so itchy, I've not been able to sleep at all because you just lay in bed scratching, and it can become a little bit of a vicious cycle.
Does lack of sleep cause psoriasis to get worse?
So that's a good question, and there's not a simple answer to that. What seems to happen is there's a bit of a cycle, so that if you're not sleeping, there's things like inflammation processes going on in the body, and that can make psoriasis worse. But I think what can happen too is because you're tired during the daytime, then you're perhaps eating more junk food, or you're not putting on your creams like you should, or you might not have time or feel like you've got the energy for exercise and that kind of thing. So that can all contribute to the whole thing. And I know for me personally, when there have been periods when I can't sleep, so maybe I'm traveling or something and I'm not getting good quality sleep, or I've had a few nights out, then my psoriasis always does seem much more inflamed the following day. So for me personally, it seems like sleep is really important to manage my psoriasis, and I don't think I'm alone in that.
Is there anything I can do to my sleep routine to help my psoriasis?
So if you are someone who is sleeping poorly, the first thing to do is to think about your sleep hygiene. So are there things you can be doing to improve your sleep environment? So the advice on sleep hygiene would be things like, make sure you don't drink tea or coffee in the evenings because the caffeine will keep you awake. Don't look at your phone before going to bed. So maybe a few hours before going to bed, put your phone down, because that can interfere with your sleep cycles and your circadian rhythms. Things like keeping your room dark and quiet, making sure you only go to bed when you're sleepy, and things like making sure you go to bed and you get up at the same time every day. So regardless what kind of night's sleep you had, you get up at the same time in the morning. So those are sort of the basic sleep hygiene stuff. But of course, if your skin's very sore and your joints are hurting and you're itchy, those things are not necessarily so helpful. So there may be other strategies that you could think about using for that, like making sure that you moisturise before bed, maybe keeping your moisturiser in the fridge to keep it cool.
Why am I so much itchier at night time?
So that's a good question too. And I think that could be something to do with attention. So during the daytime, if your skin's itchy, there's often lots of other things going on. So you'll be at work, or you'll be running around after the children, watching television, and your mind focused on other things which can distract you from the itch. But of course, when you're in bed at night, your whole attention could be drawn to the itching, and if that's what's stopping you from going to sleep, then it becomes, you're focusing on the itching, you're worrying about not sleeping, and you're not really thinking about other things, so the itch perhaps feels more intense at night time.
How do I break free from the cycle of itching and get back to a good night's sleep?
Well, there are things you can do to help you kind of break these vicious cycles you get into. So one of the things I know as a psychologist is that when you worry about not sleeping, that makes everything worse, because of course when you start to worry about things, you release adrenaline and cortisol, and that actually puts you into sort of a fight or flight mode to deal with a dangerous or threatening situation, and that's really incompatible with sleep. So worry is going to make the whole thing much worse. So for me, if I can't sleep and my skin's itchy, one of the really big factors is that I'm worrying that I'm not sleeping. So I'm thinking this itching will never stop, I can't stop the itching, I'm not going to sleep. And I start to get myself sort of stressed and worked up, and of course then I'm going to wake myself up entirely. So one of the things that you can do is learn a skill or a technique called meditation or mindfulness meditation. And that what that helps you do is just take a little bit of a step back from the worries. So you might focus on your breath or something else. So if I was trying to do mindful breathing, I would just notice my breath going into my body, I would notice it going down into my lungs, and then I would follow the breath back out of my body, feeling the air on my nose, on my mouth. And every time my attention went to my itching, I would bring it back to focusing on my breath. So that's one simple thing you can do. And then what that happens then is you stop the worry cycle, which is going to make me produce sort of stress hormones and keep me awake.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
So one of the strategies that I find really helpful comes from acceptance and commitment therapy, which we call ACT. And so what I do with that is I imagine a stream, and I imagine lots of leaves floating down the stream. So I'll be laying in bed at night and I'll visualise a stream with leaves floating down the stream. So when my worrying thoughts come up, my thoughts like, I'm not getting any sleep, I've got to get up in a couple of hours, I'm going to feel dreadful tomorrow, I'm never going to break this cycle. When those worrying thoughts come up, instead of sort of getting hooked onto the thoughts and one thought leading to another, to another, to another, and getting me more and more worked up and stressed, I take a thought and I pop it on a leaf and I just watch it float away down the stream. And what that does, it gives me a little bit of distance from my thinking. So that just allows all my body to calm down, because actually I don't need to worry about tomorrow in the night. I just need to be calm and relaxed, and then I'm much, much more likely to fall asleep. And the other thing I do is practice mindfulness regularly. So not just when I'm trying to go to sleep, but I might take little moments throughout the day where I meditate and just focus on the here and now, just focus on my breathing. And then my body and my whole system just gets better and better at doing mindfulness meditation, which means then when I'm trying to sleep, it works a bit better.
Thank you.